All right, so we are working our way through the 6th chapter of Pirkei Avos, the 6th parak, the 6th Mishnah, the 48 ways. We are now on the 16th of the 48 ways, which will put us on page 582 if you're using the R16 Siddur. So these are the bemiuts, right? The Torah approach to business, to sexuality, to pleasure, gratification, to sleep, to conversation, to laughter. B'miut sachara. Minimize business. Right? We'll see the next one. So b'miut sachara, b'miut derech eretz, b'miut tainug. So it's miut. It's limit. Minimize. Put downward pressure. So we saw in one of the earlier missions, it says, Al tarbe sicha ima isha. Don't overindulge in conversation with your wife. And use the word al tarbe. Don't increase. It could say, right, so it could say don't do it at all. Skip it. Ignore it. Cut it out. Get rid of it. Right? It doesn't. B'miut means that the thing matters. The thing's important. The thing has power. Right? You can't eliminate it. But it's going to be pushing up, and you need to push down. Right? When it says Al tarbe sicha ma'isha in the first chapter, don't overindulge in conversation with your wife, it doesn't say don't talk to her. It says don't overdo it. Right? It doesn't say b'miut. Because you don't have to minimize. You don't have a drive to eliminate, drive to push back, because it doesn't necessarily have a drive to push up. It just says don't go crazy. Here it says b'miut, that you actually want to have a pressure down, because these are all things that have a pressure to absorb your whole life. There are plenty of people, pick any one of these, and you have people that's their whole life, and it consumes them, right? And all of us. Doesn't mean you're a bad guy. It just means that these are things that, without even paying attention, it can consume every waking moment. It can consume your energy, your time, your life, and you become a person who's dedicated to business, right? There are guys whose whole life is all about, making a buck, or making the deal, even if it's not going to make a buck. Or making the product. It's like, that business becomes their life. Work becomes their life. And they're always trying to figure out, how do I find another 10 minutes to put into work? Right? How do I find another 10 minutes to put into, writing that, right? Bring my work home, and it fills every nook and cranny. Schara, business, the business approach, has the ability to consume you. So he says, you have to limit it. But he doesn't say eliminate it. Because if to eliminate it, to extinguish it, is to actually weaken yourself. Right? It's not, you don't want to be a person who has none. You don't want to be a person who has no business sense whatsoever. That what we're calling business, right, schara, is really the ability to be pragmatic and practical. Right? In some ways, if you think about it, the beauty of a business relationship, of a business approach to things, of a capitalistic approach to things, is it's either real and it works or it doesn't. Right? You start a business, and either you have an idea that people want to buy and that you're contributing economic value to the world, or soon your idea will fail, and you will not have any money for food, and you'll starve, or you have to go do something else. Right? If you open up a business and no one wants it, you get nowhere. The business, to succeed and to thrive, has to be pragmatic and practical. And you want your life to be the same way. You want your learning to be the same way. You want to learn to have a business approach to life. Right? That I want my concept, if I'm striving to accomplish something, I can ask, what's the return on investment? Right? I'm going to put time into a particular activity with my kids. Is that an effective activity or not an effective activity? What's the return? Right? I'm debating whether or not to let my kid have a computer, or to let my kid play with the internet, or let my kid, have an unlimited subscription to, music videos online. or whatever the good thing is. Is that a good thing for them or is it a bad thing? What's the return? What's the harm? What's the benefit? What's the cost? Right? Every question has a pragmatic analysis. The business approach to life teaches you how to have a pragmatic approach, right? Noah points out that the character traits that are desirable for success in business. He says, a person needs self-discipline, right? You're not going to serve if you don't show up for work, right? Right? If you buy everything you want, you need self-discipline. You need to see yourself as a winner. You can't get discouraged. You have to be organized. You have to be able to work with others. You have to have patience, reliability, determination, ruthlessness, assertiveness, aggressiveness, efficiency, a willingness to sacrifice. He goes through all these qualities that are necessary for a person to thrive in business. You have to be goal-oriented, consistent, optimistic. Right? You have to be willing to endure trouble, pain, right? Bad cash flow months. There's a difficulty. You have a sense of humor and loyalty and honesty. And he goes through the traits that are effective for a good businessman are also the traits that are effective for a good dad or a good teacher or a good husband or a good anything, right? That it's very easy, especially when you're kind of ivory tower-ish, if you're not involved in the world, to just create impractical ideas, right? And you can have those in your relationship with your wife, with your kids, with yourself, with anything, and you're just kind of a wishy-washy floater, right? You don't have any plans. Nothing ever comes to fruition. Your goals are never applied, right? A businessman can't set a sale. If you're going to set a sales goal, I need to do $1 million a year in sales this year. Well, that means $80,000 a month, guy. That means $20,000 a week. Right? You got a 5-day week, that's $4,000 a day. Right? If you got a $1,000 product, you need 4 sales today. Well, you're not going to get 4 sales today unless you get on the phone and make 162 phone calls, whatever the number is to create a business guy knows, here's my pipeline. I need to make 162 phone calls to get 16 appointments, to get 2 sales, to get 1 follow-up sale, right? It's a compulsion to be practical. So the beauty of business is really, when he says schara, right, it's really talking about pragmatism, right, and involvement, right, to have a job, to be an academic, you've never run a business, how do you know what a business needs, right? You've never had to actually accomplish anything on a deadline, on a budget, with consequences. So that's important for the functioning of a human being. But it's exciting. It's stimulating. It's cool stuff. You have people who will tie their whole lives in it. And everything is about, can I close that deal? Can I make that sale? But I don't even care about the money anymore. The money is just keeping score. But I want to thrash you. I want to win. I want to be right. And you lose everything else. Now you've got no values. Right? I got no family. I've got no life. He says, you cannot eliminate a business approach to life. It's valuable. But you should know that your business will eat up every moment of your life. And your whole life will be business. And you will find yourself one day having missed your wife and missed your kids and missed you have nothing. You'll have nothing. You wonder if we talked about not being in the moment? There's people who are so wrapped up in their jobs and their careers and moving, because that becomes the goal. It's no longer a tool. It's no longer a tool to feed my family. And it's no longer a tool to keep me practically grounded in the world. That's how I measure myself. And I need to win. And everything is about winning. And you wake up and your whole life has been about the earning, not about the living. You must be mamute. You have to know that you have to put a downward pressure on it. Don't ever eliminate it. It's important. But confine it, constrain it. Mamute derech eretz. Sexuality. Doesn't say eliminate it. Right? We're not an ascetic religion. It's a powerful drive. There are societies, believe it or not, that are fixated on the concept of sexuality. Their marketing is driven by sex. Right?
I can't imagine that. For example,
Politics are driven by
what
sex.
society, for example?
Right? Interpersonal relationships are driven by sex. Right? There are powerful people whose whole lives are destroyed. Right? You could be the most powerful general, the greatest general of your generation, the head of the secret, the CIA, huge powerful guy, and lose it all because you didn't constrain sex. That sex will eat up everything. If you can't tame this particular drive, then you're not in control of yourself. It's interesting. We talked about before the battle between Turnus Rufus and Rabbi Akiva over bris milah. Right? We talked about the Greeks, right, hated the concept of bris milah because they felt that people were created perfect, and we believe that people were created perfectible. And the difference is they really want to say perfect because perfect means unchangeable, and unchangeable means not responsible for anything. Right? It's not that I'm perfect; it's that I am what I am, and it's not my fault. And we say, no, you're perfectible, but we have to finish the job. We're going to do the last cut, right? But the thing is, why is it there? How about your toenails, right? 8th day you go in, you trim your toenails, now the kid's perfect, right? No. We do it as a bris milah because that's the place where a human being has to fight between, am I what I am I just an animal, or am I a human being and a soul who's in control, for men is most focused on that drive. So that's the center. So what is sexuality? What's the power of sexuality? Why is it that so much of our lives, so much of everything is focused on that drive? So it's complete involvement. It's complete connection. Right? The idea of sexuality is it's not about anything else. Done properly, it is two souls, right, coming together in absolute connection through a physical pathway. Right? It says, the Catholics think that sexuality is about procreation. Right? They say that the purpose of sex is procreation, is to have kids. Right? Americans say the purpose of sex is about recreation. Right? That's the battle. Is it for procreation? Is it for recreation? So our approach is that it's neither. That it's about connection. That it is a physical tool to allow two souls to connect. And to be absolutely focused and involved. For me to lose myself, my soul to lose itself in your soul. For my soul to embed itself in your soul. That it's a totally spiritual thing, but driven through a physical pathway. Right? That there's, properly used, there's no other goal. It's not about planning for tomorrow, right? It's not about conversation. It's about connection, which just gives you a hint. The fact that procreation comes from this act of intimacy and connection gives you a hint as to how Hashem looks at children. Right? Children could come from anything. Why God takes this action, which is focused on connection, and says this is where children arise. Because to the extent that you and your wife are focused and connected, that you're on this same page, that your soul is connected to her soul, that's the action that creates children. It's what creates healthy children. And I heard one of our say it's not just at that moment, it's throughout the course of their lives. Right? To the extent that the parents are at odds with each other, right, it creates difficulties for the children. Right? It's difficult, you see, it's difficult to grow if your parents are, at loggerheads with each other. It's not something we can abandon. Right? It's one of the fundamental connections of other-centeredness. Right? It's derech eretz. It's the way of the world. This is how you were created. You were created to bind your soul to another soul. But, as we said, it's a drive that'll consume you. The same way that business, pragmatism is necessary, pragmatism is beneficial, but also business can consume you, sexuality is the same way. That left uninhibited, it'll destroy everything. Right? That you'll have a drive to use it, through infatuation. You have a drive to use it for recreation. You have a drive to use it for destruction. You can use it for ensoulment. Right? It can be used to rip the soul from another person as a tool of degradation, as a tool of defamation, as a tool of destruction. So he says, b'miut, right? Each of these things are these incredibly powerful pleasures, incredibly powerful pathways that you can't eliminate, but you have to be bemute. Right? You have to. It's not just an alt-tar bait. Don't let it increase. You have to constantly have your hand on it and throttle it down. Because if you're not, it'll eat you alive.